Trumpet bell dent removal using the Z-60 machine. What we have here, dented trumpet bells. This one, of course, is off. It can be used on the machine as well in 4 specific areas. Hold in front an unpolished mandrel, small tapered, universal, fit any of the trumpets, cornets. Be careful with flugelhorns, it's a little small. This would need to be polished before used. And of course we have our flat milled area, which is important when we set up our machine. So, for today's demonstration, we'll be using the universal tapered mandrel for trumpets, small, the forked arm, and the small rat-eye roller for small brass. Okay, now please notice we can slide this in and out and still be situated over our mandrel. It's very important that we identify which part of the bell we're going to be working on first. We should always work the farthest in the bell and work our way out. So to do that, we'll want to set this mandrel as far forward as possible. Remember that if you can twist the mandrel, your set screw is not set correctly. In most cases, you will need to remove the Allen key to get in far enough. Okay? Now, on some of these smaller tapered instruments or where dents are bad, you may have to push and pull that bell onto that area. Okay? Once you have removed all solder, any corrosion or any lumps that you have on here, you can start to use this machine. Remembering that any junk you have left on top, solder or anything else, will embed itself into the brass if left. Okay. Should be noted that you should be using lubricant on your mandrel to keep it free and clean and to be moving easier. This demonstration, we have not used any. We have now some liquid Teflon that we will be using. As well, you can use Vaseline, or we have new lubricant for the Z-60 from Ferree. Okay. Where we would ideally want to work is from this end, pulling and pushing. For this demonstration, I will work from the opposite side. Once we have pressure in, we simply move it back and forth over the areas until we've achieved our shape. Please notice that if it doesn't come out round enough or doesn't remove a dent, you can simply add more pressure. Now, around the crook area and the stem, there is a possibility you will not be able to go all the way around. That's fine. You can come back with this, use a burnisher or a roller on here, and then come back to it. Finish off with the Z-60 whenever possible. Okay? Now, anytime you have a severe dent, you need to increase the pressure by 2 to 3 turns. Work that area with short strokes back and forth. You should feel the device getting nice and smooth. Keep an eye on your area. As you get the dent out, release some of the tension, and then you can use the device for just shaping and molding your piece. Once that's completed, we'll move on to the next section. And at the smallest point, we never want to go more than halfway up the bell. If the curve of the mandrel becomes too small, we will lose some of our contact surface, and we can end up with small ridges. Once again, as it gets tighter, remove some of it so you can use it for shaping. What you're looking for are high spots created, and you just want to roll those high spots down into a nice, even, consistent roll. You should be able to feel it, but you should also be able to see it. Okay. Once you've done that, remove your bell, have a look, finish off any area you need to now using a curved burnisher on the inside area that you could not reach. Retie in the area with the Z-60 and then continue on. To continue on, we will need to reset our mandrel. Which means we will need to back off the collar, slide our mandrel out to the desired length, so it covers the new area with the thickest part of the mandrel possible. Now remember that it's possible to stick the mandrel so far out you can't get to the area. Then you can just simply adjust it, retighten, and you should be able to continue right on. Simply retighten and continue the work. If you find that you haven't gone far enough, simply readjust it before you go on. Now for a little finer job, a little quicker, if you apply downward pressure on the bell while you're working it, you will stay tight to the mandrel and you will tend to have a job that'll turn out a little faster and a little smoother. If the bell is off, we can now go all the way around. So if this was a severe bell, our fastest way would be to unsolder the entire bell, do the procedure we're doing now, strip and refinish, and resolder this bell when we were done. Now your best work will be achieved if you do about 4-inch width at a time. Please pay special attention to wherever braces and that were, for these areas are where the instrument was probably pushed in the worst. You want this area smooth, so when you solder on your new braces or your existing ones after they've been straightened, they need to sit flat to give it the best strength possible. Also, the rounder shape you get your tubing, the more strength it'll have. As I've lightened off the pressure, I'm taking longer strokes to kind of tie in the sections I've worked before all in. Okay. Now releasing the pressure, because I am about an inch to 2 inch away from our logo. In this particular area, the taper is so large, it is not very functional for us to continue using the trumpet mandrel. If you have damage that extends that far up, what you will want to do is remove the trumpet mandrel, and replace it with the trombone mandrel. As we stated earlier, we've continued up the bell till about 1 inch to 2 inches above the logo area. This area, the bell flare, becomes quite wide. So if we were to continue with the trumpet, we'd probably end up getting thin lines here. Our best defense here, if we're working on a good bell, is to switch and move to a trombone mandrel. We have a choice of using the universal trombone, or we can use the attachment for an even larger bell. Okay? As you can see, we've test fitted it. We've looked at our diameters, and I think maybe our better choice, if we just take a look at this, I believe our better choice would be to use this attachment to finish off this bell, especially if it was a good bell. So we'll just reset up using our attachment mandrel, and we'll be right back. We've now switched to our bell attachment mandrel, which is a larger attachment hooked up to our attachment rod. Please remember, our attachment rod has the end that we can put the various attachments on. One thing we must pay attention to is when we're about to work the bell part, we must make sure that the curvature on our radius roller matches or is larger than what we need. In this case, I believe we are okay. Remembering that if it is too small, you will crease the sides of the bell. Remembering to allow it to tie into the different areas. And like any mandrel, you must remember that contact must be in surface at all time, which typically is not a problem with a pressure roller such as the Z-60. We now have tied in this entire area, and even on a bell as old as this, we have a very smooth, fine taper that we can replace back. Removing the bell dents from the very edge. Sometimes you'll have the lip rolled over a little bit or a crease just right next to where the bell rim is. The best tool for this is using our mini disc and using the straight roller, not the curved attachment. That's best used for saxophones. Okay? Using that, place it in position, simply tighten down, and once again using our steering wheel method, we simply roll the bell. Remember, to make this tool effective, you must be right next to the edge. Now, when you have it set up at the extreme edge, you must make sure only to do around the rim. When you're ready to go a little bit farther, release the pressure, move the angle up, and this will allow you to do the next section. We still don't want to go all the way into the bell, but we can take it to the next step in and move the next 1/4 inch. This will allow us to tie that in. We should have enough clearance from the end that we're not physically going to wreck what we've fixed on the rim.